Have you ever been card dead at the poker table for what seems like hours on end? You're getting the 7-deuce offsuit over and over again. You can't win a poker hand to save your life. Today I'm going to teach you a simple tactic to start winning even when you have nothing. This works both against good players and bad players. I'm going to give you step-by-step examples for how to do this versus both of them. And I'm also going to give you a bonus hand at the end to show you how I have used this simple but effective tactic as a 10-plus year professional to turn massive profit in future hands when they don't believe you. Let's jump into it. All right, guys, so the key to this strategy when you have nothing at the poker table is being okay with taking small losses in the short term in order to gain a massive payoff in the long term. And again, at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you the long-term hand, but right now we're gonna talk about how to set them up. So let's start with the recreational players, our fishy friends. I am not the most politically correct poker player in the world. Yes, I still call them the fish. These are the players that play all sorts of bad hands. They chase every draw. They call you down with bottom pair. They frustrate you. And I'm going to show you how to frustrate them in today's video. So guys, I am willing to make slightly bad poker plays in the short term in order to turn a long-term massive profit. So for example, you've got 7-5 of hearts in middle position once again versus one of these fishy poker players who calls you in the big blind. So guys, this is a typical hand I'm going to be playing in this situation. As you guys know, I want to get involved with the recreational players, the fish, as often as possible because this is who we make the money against in poker. So the flop comes down with the ace of hearts, queen of spades, and 6 of diamonds. Not exactly the flop we were looking for with our hand. So a lot of people will be like, oh, see, you know, I never hit the flop. I'm card dead once again. I'm gonna have to fold in this hand and lose again, but I'm gonna show you how to take a different strategy in this hand. So what should you do here? Well, once again, guys, this is not a good flop for our hand. However, assuming that the fish bets into us, which is what fish love to do, you should make the call in position with your 7-5 of hearts here. Now that is crucially important. I hope you guys already noticed that we raised pre-flop from middle position and this player called us in the big blind, and I'm going to put the positions at the poker table on your screen right now for any of you guys who are new to the game of poker. But basically what this means is we're going to be acting last on the flop, turn, and river. Massive proven statistical advantage. We are in positions. So you guys are going to notice that is a common factor throughout all of the examples in today's video versus the good players, which I'm going to show you in a sec, that we're always going to be making these plays versus them in position. So while we technically have nothing right now, guys, there are multiple turn cards that can drastically improve our equity in this hand. For example, any heart that comes on the turn would give us 4 to the flush, and if it comes with a 4, 5, 7, or 8, this would also tremendously increase our equity. And by the way, when I say equity, I'm referring to our odds to win the pot. So if it came with a 4, we would have an open-ended straight draw on the turn, meaning that any 3 or 8 on the river would give us a straight. If it came with a 5 or a 7 on the turn, that would give us a pair, giving us outs to either 2 pair or trips on the river. And if it came with an 8, that would also give us an open-ended straight draw, meaning that if it came with any 4 or 9 on the river, we would once again make a straight. All right, guys, so what is the real point of this? The real point here is that we have multiple backdoor draws in this hand, and if we were to hit one of these by the river, this is going to set off the devastating impact of tilt, which is what happens when somebody starts playing emotionally versus us versus with their head. And it's very easy to set off the fishy poker players, and that is why I will often make what appear to be bad plays like this according to some other people in order to potentially hit my miracle cards later on in the hand to put them on tilt. Guys, the other important thing to note here is that we can bluff them out of the pot. Now, I've talked about in multiple videos here that bluffing the fish is often not a great idea, but in some scenarios with certain board runouts, like for example, a king and a jack, I might try to bluff on the river in order to represent the straight, for example, to win in that manner as well. Guys, the bottom line here is we are taking a small short-term loss. We technically have nothing on this flop in order to hopefully hit one of our running draws because we stand to gain a massive amount in future hands if we can get this player to start playing emotionally again. against us. And I'm going to show you that example coming up later on in this video, but this has been one of the biggest ways that I've been able to get ahead over the years as a 10+ year professional is I get other people thinking about me and not playing their cards rationally and to the best of their ability. Basically, I get them emotional. And when you truly understand that poker is a game of psychological warfare, when you can get people off their game like this, that is when the big profits start rolling in. So let's talk about how to do this against good poker players now instead of just the fish. So I have a slightly different strategy versus the good poker players. Once again, I love to do this in position. I hammer on the weaker regs specifically with lots of early session bluffs. Now, what do I mean by that? The weaker regs are the players who like to back down a lot. They don't like to make the big calls unless they have a really strong hand. And I specifically do this very early on against them when they don't have any reads against me or HUD data if you're playing online poker. This works amazing in Zoom, by the way, because it's very hard to get reads on people in Zoom poker. Basically, you want to do this early on because this is when people give you the most credit. When you just sit down at the poker table, they don't know anything about you, so that's when I will often run my biggest bluff. So let me give you an example once again. You raise up 10-9 of spades in early position this time. Once again, this is another one of these speculative hands that I will throw in here from time to time, and a tag calls you in the big blind. Flop comes down with an ace of hearts, 5 of spades, and 2 of hearts. Once again, guys, we don't really have anything really good on this board, but I hope that some of you guys realize that we do have multiple backdoor draws in this hand, just like in the previous example. In this situation here, if it came any two running spades on the turn and river, we would make a flush. We also have a backdoor straight draw on this board. If it came with a jack and a 7, for example, we would make a running straight. And also it is important to note that we have 2 strong overcards on this board. If it comes with a 10 or a 9 on the turn or river, we would make top pair. So the tag checks to you on this board. Once again, we're going to be in position. You make a c-bet and they call. So let's go see the turn now. So the turn comes down with the jack of clubs and the tag player leads into you. Now guys, this is typically a sign of a lot of strength. A lot of people will make the fold here and I can't blame them. But once again, I take a slightly different approach in this situation. The point here, guys, is that we want to set this player off, get them playing emotionally against us. And so I will often take a draw like this and raise it on the turn here, once again, early on in the session as a semi-bluff. And now people often ask me, but what do you do, Nathan, when you don't hit your draw by the river? Well, once again, guys, we're going to be giving ourselves multiple ways to win this pot. I am also going to be firing on the river here. If any ace or king drops, those cards are pretty easy to represent because we raise pre-flop, and most of the time when you do raise before the flop, those are the kind of hands that people will put you on. If it comes with a queen, obviously we're going to make the straight in that situation, so I will definitely be firing the river in that situation. If it comes with a jack on the river, I'm going to try to represent trips. If it comes with the 7, we're of course going to make the nuts straight, so I'm going to bet on that card. And finally, if it comes with any heart on the river, I'm also going to bet again as a bluff to represent the hearts. I hope you guys can see where we're going here is we're giving ourselves multiple ways to win this pot. We can win this pot either by making the best hand on the river or by bluffing them out. It's very important in poker that you always give yourself multiple ways to win. But guys, the key point here is either way, whether we win with a bluff or with the best hand, we are very likely to get them frustrated with us and thinking about us. When we flip over the straight on the river or the bluff, they're going to be angry either way. If we hit the straight, they're going to be fuming because they're going to be asking themselves, why was this guy raising on the turn? What is this guy even doing in the hands? This is the #1 way to put people on tilt, guys, is to be in there with a hand that they don't think you should be playing, that you played badly. That's how you put people on tilt. And obviously when you bluff someone out of the pot with 10 high, and I would recommend showing it in this situation, that is another very effective way to put people on tilt. Guys, the other really important thing to remember against regular players is you are playing against these players, as the name would suggest, every single day in many cases. And you need to remember, guys, that regs don't forget for weeks or even months in some cases. If you bluff them out in a big pot like this or hit some sort of miracle draw, they will often often remember it for a very long time. And now let's talk about why we do this. Let's talk about why we just made these two bad, quote unquote, bad plays versus both the fish and the regular in these two hands. And that is because of the future payoff. Guys, let me give you an example now. Once you've got these players playing emotionally against you, and I will assume it's going to be up against a good poker player in this situation. You call it pocket threes in the big blinds versus a good poker player, and the flop comes down to ace 10 3. This is a standard spot where we're going to be set mining, looking to hit our 3 on the flop, and lo and behold, we do nail it on this flop. You check, tag makes their typical C bet, and you decide to raise. Guys, I'm not going to go deep into fast playing in this video. My first poker book literally was all about how to do that. You should always be fast playing your big hands, especially in small stakes games. I also have many videos here on the channel walking you through step-by-step examples about how to do that. But you fast play your hand in this situation, which is check raising here, and the tag player calls. Turn comes down with the 8 of clubs. You check, looking to go for the check raise once again. Tag bets, you make your check raise, and the tag player will often spaz shove their ace queen all in here, and you can snap call them with 100% equity, meaning that this player has 0 cards remaining in the deck for them to catch on the river that can make them the best hand. Basically, you've already won right now, and you've got their entire stack. Now, how did you do this, guys? Why do so many people come to me these days and complain that when they hit their set in this spot and the good player has ace queen, that they only win a tiny pot? Guys, it's because of everything we talked about in this video. You're not understanding the mental portion of poker. You're not understanding about how to set them up in the future. And like I said, in many cases, this might be a regular player that I bluffed or hit a lucky draw against weeks or even months previously, and they still remember that in their head. And that is why I get maximum action out of them in a situation like this. They spaz out and they shove their ace queen on me precisely because of those previous situations, guys, where I played badly against them, where I took a short-term loss in order to set them up for this situation right now. Guys, in a nutshell, this is the meta game of poker, which nobody for some reason seems to be talking about these days. We do not play poker hands in a vacuum. Assuming you are a serious regular poker player, as you probably are if you're watching a video like this, we don't play poker for our results on individual days or even individual weeks. We play over the course of months and years, and you're often playing against the same players again and again. And given the fact that poker is a heavily psychological game where often there is incomplete information and emotions are highly involved, taking a strategy like this of taking small short-term losses with long shot draws, like we talked about in both examples in this video, can often pay off in a big way over the long run like this by getting you maximum action when you want it. Guys, if you want to start getting paid off with your big hands, you need to start setting them up. You need to start playing some poker sometimes, especially when you have nothing, and you want to do that in position with multiple draws versus all player types like we talked about in today's video. Guys, I hope this one was helpful. Let me know how you play when you don't have anything in the comments below, and also like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And finally, if you want to know my entire strategy to crush the small and mid stakes games, make sure you grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.